So we're on our way to Fenway Park. We're gonna have a nice little tour there.
Yeah, yeah, should be a fun excursion. Rob and Faber are with us, Michelle and Gary, so should be a good time. So let's get over there and see what this is all about.
To Fenway Park, and just one little tidbit in case you decide to come here, which we did not know about, preferably be for us women. They don't allow backpacks or like big purses or anything in here at all. So if you have any valuables or anything, like cameras, all that, oh, Porky, just make sure you just be able to have pockets. We'll just put it that way. Just a little heads up. But let's go into the park.
This is a pretty manageable group. What I'm going to ask you, there's really only a couple of rules, and the most important one is, as we move throughout the ballpark, stay behind me and in front of my friend Jack, who you've already met. Jack is back there. Wave to Jack, everybody. There he is. All right. Jack's a great tour guide as well. If you're at the back of the group and you want to ask him some questions, this is the type of tour where we're going to move from place to place and from vantage point to vantage point. And every time we stop, you're going to get a different view of Fenway. And feel free to take all the pictures you want. All right, take pictures along the way. I will not be offended if you take pictures while I'm talking. That's all well and good. No problem with that. So we'll keep this. I mean, I'll have stories, but I'll stop and ask you guys if you have questions along the way, and answer them to the best of my ability. All right, so a little bit about me. My first game here at Fenway Park was in 1964. So I've been coming to this park for a long time. And I'm going to get us started by channeling an old public address announcer here. And his name was Sherm Feller. Now Sherm was the PA announcer here at Fenway Park for over 30 years. And he was the voice of my youth. And every time I came into a game, Sherm would welcome everybody here to at Fenway Park. And it sounded something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Fenway Park.
All right, guys, we are officially in the ballpark.
We
are.
Right?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
let's see
cool.
what this tour is all about. So far, so good. And hey, at least it quit raining, right?
That's right. Perfect timing.
Exactly. We'll go over here. We'll check out the Green Monster. We'll get some more information on the park and bring you guys along.
Peanut, popcorn.
There we go. Yeah, that sounds good. I wish. Here we are, nestled into Grandstand 32 here at Fenway Park. Now, I want to tell you a little bit. Well, first of all, let's do this. Most of you, or a lot of you, are seeing Fenway for the first time, and guess what? we're starting to set up for a concert, because we have concerts here at Fenway during the summer. And this Thursday night, I believe, Boston's own Aerosmith is playing Thursday night. And we'll talk more about concerts a little bit later. But that's what they're starting to set up for, is a concert on Thursday night. So, as you look on this field, is the field bigger or smaller than you thought it was going to be? Smaller, right? And there's a reason for that. This is the smallest playing surface in Major League Baseball. It's about 85,000 square feet. The average size of a Major League field is closer to 110,000 square feet. Now, Fenway's always been known as a hitter's ballpark. And, you know, a lot of people think it's because of this wall next to us, you know, our green monster, or the short distance down the right field line to that pole. We'll talk more about that later, too. But to me, there's a hidden reason why Fenway is great for the hitters. And it relates to the size of the field. So, small field, and if you look around home plate, there's not a whole lot of foul territory there, folks, right? So, the seats are right on top of the field. So, picture this. Batters hit pop-ups all the time in Major League Baseball games, right? And in other parks, with more foul territory, bigger ballparks, those pop-ups are caught for outs. You're out, go back to the dugout, try again next time. Here at Fenway, the same pop-up falls harmlessly into the stands. And so what happens? Hitters get another chance to hit. And there's nothing hitters like more than another chance to hit. So to me, that's a bit of a hidden reason why Fenway is a great ballpark for the hitters. When the Red Sox came into the league in 1901, they weren't the Red Sox yet. As a matter of fact, they didn't have a nickname. They were like the Boston team. And so the newspapers of the day, the media, took to calling them the Boston Americans, because they were in the American League. And they wouldn't become the Red Sox till 1908. And what happened is, now we're going back to the Bean Eaters. The Bean Eaters at the time, they had Red Sox as part of their uniforms. And before the 1908 season, they decided to change their uniform structure. They would become the Braves a couple of years later after that. But the Americans said, hey, we like the looks of those Red Sox, right? We're going to make a part of our uniform and change our name to the Red Sox for the 1908 season. And they were so proud of that new name that their first uniform jersey in 1908 had a big red sock right on the front of it. So that's how the Americans became the Red Sox. So they come into the league, and of course they're not playing here. Excuse me, they're playing at a place called the Huntington Avenue Grounds. It's where Northeastern University is now, in the city of Boston. And it's about 1.5 miles from here. And that team that came in, the Boston Americans, 1903, they would win the very first World Series ever played. And they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the Americans, they had an ace pitcher, guy you might have heard of if you're a baseball fan, Cy Young, right? Cy Young Award. Well, we had the original Cy Young, and he helped us win that first World Series 1903. And you know, people don't realize the Red Sox were actually baseball's first dynasty, because we would win 5 of the first 15 World Series ever played. So in addition to 1903, we would win again in 1912, 1915, 1916, 1918. 2004, 2007, 2013, 2018. You may have heard about this little curse. Curse of the Bambino. Well, we'll talk about that a little later too. And really, there's no curse. We just wanted to give some other teams a chance to win after 1918, and we waited 86 years to do it. And you know, and the other thing is, we really do very well in the first 2 decades of each century. Right? I hope that streak, you know, is snapped soon. I don't think it's going to be this year, but there's always next year. So now Fenway Park opens up 1912, and the first game here is April 20th, 1912. And normally it'd be the biggest story in town, but something happened 5 days before, April 15th, 1912, major world event. Anybody know what happened? The Titanic sunk in the North Atlantic 5 days before this ballpark opened up. Now something else happened 2 months before the ballpark opened up, February of 1912. I attached some significance to it, maybe some of you will too. The Oreo cookie was invented. So that was 2 months right before Fenway opened. But April 20th, 1912, it was a glorious day. We won our first game here, 7-6 in 11 innings. And what made it even more glorious is we beat a team from New York, the New York
Yankees.
Highlanders. I'm sorry, I promise, I will not set you up like that again. But there is a story. So the Highlanders were so upset that we beat them the first game here at Fenway Park, 1912. They went and changed their name to the Yankees the next year. They became the New York Yankees in 1913. But of course, here at Fenway, we like to say we've been beating the Yankees here since day one. And we did win another World Series title in 1912, but we're always looking to get better. And we signed a young left-handed pitcher in 1914. He was pitching for the then minor league Baltimore Orioles. I guarantee you've heard of him. Who is he?
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, George Herman Ruth, the Babe, the Bambino, the Sultan of Swat, the Colossus of Clout. But the thing about the Babe is he's a great pitcher at that time. And he was the best left-handed pitcher in the American League for the next 4 or 5 years. Luckily, there's no DH. So Babe Ruth also gets a chance to hit, starts hitting home runs, right? At a time when no one else in Major League Baseball is hitting home runs. It's the dead ball era. And what happened is the ball is smaller, it's less tightly wound. They use like 2 of them per game. And nobody could hit it out except Babe Ruth. And I'll give you an example. 1919 is Babe Ruth's last year with the Red Sox. And by then, he's pretty much a full-time outfielder. He's not pitching much anymore because he's hitting all these home runs. He hits 29 home runs in 1919. Doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then it was an outrageous amount. The rest of the Red Sox team in 1919, the whole team hit 4 home runs. So Babe hits 29 out of the 33 home runs the whole team hits. He goes into our owner, Harry Frazee, says, Harry, I want a raise. As a matter of fact, I want to double my salary from $10,000 to $20,000 a year. And Harry says, no. Now, Harry Frazee's a Broadway producer at that time. He needs money to finance his shows in New York, and Babe Ruth threatened to hold out for the 1920 season if he doesn't get his money. So Harry sells Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees for $100,000 on December 26, 1919. Remains the best Christmas present the Yankees ever got. Here, Yankees, look under your tree. There's Babe Ruth. And now here comes the curse of the Bambino. Babe Ruth puts a curse. You will never win another World Series. It didn't happen. Because it's not the curse of the Bambino, it's the curse of Harry Frazee. Not only does Harry sell Babe Ruth, he sells off about another dozen players from that World Series winning team of 1918. And where do most of those players go? The Yankees. Now we get to the 1920s and the Yankees start winning World Series with all those former Red Sox players. And the Red Sox become terrible. They are one bad baseball team during the decade of the 20s. They finished last 7 out of the 10 years, and the other 3 years, they have great years, they finish next to last. And so now, people stop coming to Fenway Park because the team stinks, and the park itself starts falling apart. And there's a couple of small fires down there where the seats jut into the onto the field there. They used to be wooden benches, and they go up in smoke, right? And nobody cares. Our ownership at the time, they don't fix the damage, they just rope it off, call it extended foul territory. A tornado hits Fenway Park, 1926, right in the middle of the outfield. A tornado. It destroys what used to be the center field bleachers out there. So by the early 30s, there's talk about moving the Red Sox out of town and tearing down Fenway Park. Luckily, that doesn't happen. A young gentleman named Tom Yawkey comes around in 1933, buys the team for $1.2 million. Now, Tom Yawkey, he made his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited, and he had inherited $40 million by his 30th birthday. He'd been looking to get into baseball because his Uncle Bill used to own the Detroit Tigers. So Tom Yawkey buys the worst team with the worst ballpark, takes one look at Fenway Park, and says, I gotta fix this place up. I was gonna use another word. And he spends another $1.5 million, more than he paid for the whole team in the park, to fix up Fenway, renovate it for the 1934 season. Makes 4 major changes. This roof above our heads, it only used to extend to the dugouts. Tom Yawkey extends the roof from foul pole to foul pole. Second change, he rebuilds those center field bleachers. Third change, you're sitting in them. These are the original seats from the 1934 renovation of Fenway Park. These are the oldest seats in Major League Baseball. They are the last wooden seats left anywhere in Major League Baseball, and they are the most uncomfortable seats in Major League Baseball, as you can probably tell. If you have a drink, we hope you're enjoying your invisible cup holders. If you sit in these seats at Fenway, there's 12,000 of them. Your cup holder is the person sitting next to you. So how come we don't get rid of these blue seats, replace them with these nice cushy red seats down here? History. We love our history in Boston, and especially here at Fenway Park. And I'm happy to tell you that these seats, like the park, are not going anywhere, because 10 years ago in 2012, to mark the 100th anniversary of this grand old park, Fenway was put on the National Register of Historic Places. So in effect, you guys are sitting in a museum. And 7-foot, 2-inch high wall, 231 feet across in 1934. Well, I'll tell you, before that wall, there was about a 22-foot high fence, and on the other side of the fence, on Lansdowne Street, there were a bunch of car dealerships. Baseballs and cars. No, they don't mix very well, folks. And by then, everybody's hitting home runs, not just Babe Ruth. And so the balls are flying over that fence, busting up the cars, smashing the windshield. Tom Yawkey says, I'm not paying for that. So he overreacts, builds the monster. 2 years later, 1936. See where those seats are now? Those seats didn't come up on top of the wall till 2003. And in 1936, Tom Yawkey built a net on top of the wall. 23-foot high net. So 37 plus 23. 60 feet of protection for those cars across the street. So how'd you folks like to go up and sample those seats? You guys ready? Yeah. All right, just one more thing. I'm a teacher. I love giving quizzes. So I'm going to give you guys a quiz. I have a hard time saying green monster. We don't pronounce R's at the end of our words here in Boston. It's the Green Monster. To me and to everybody here in Boston. So on, three. Could you folks please give me your best Green Monster? 1, 2, 3.
Green Monster.
That's wicked awesome. Follow me.
Keep climbing.
Stand here or you want to?
No, next to Rob.
The famous Green Monster seats here at Fenway. Now, I mentioned these seats went up in 2003. It was a bit of a controversial idea. Not everybody, thought that anybody would even want to sit on top of the wall. What a crazy idea. Remember, that net had been there since 1936. But John Henry and the Fenway Sports Group had just bought the team a couple of years earlier, and it was John Henry's vision to put seats on top of the wall. And since he paid almost $700 million to buy the team, up they went. And, these seats went on sale.
Guys, we're here on top of the Green Monster, the famous Green Monster at Fenway Park. But these seats here on top of the wall, $500 a ticket per game. And World Series games were, it's not talking about $2 grand, $2,500. So that's absolutely insane. But
That was more than my first car. So.
yeah, it's so much history and just really cool.
comes from Fenway Farms. I'm told that they grow a whole lot of organic kale out there. Now, I would not know anything about kale, but that's what I'm told. And we also donate quite a bit of the produce to charities and to food pantries in the area. So it's kind of a cool part of Fenway. Now we're going to go up these...
Yeah, it's a pretty neat fact, guys, there. That's Fenway Garden, and they actually grow the lettuce and tomato and stuff that they serve on the burgers and stuff here at the park. So that's a neat little tidbit. Never thought they would do something like that.
Skyline across the way, right? So that's pretty cool. I do want to point out one particular building, though. Take a look at the two tall buildings in the foreground. That building to the left is the Financial Building, and the building to the right is 1 Dalton Street. But I want to focus on that little building in the middle, the one with the dome in between the two taller buildings. Everybody see that? That is Christian Science Building here in Boston. And in 1912, when Fenway Park opened up for business, that was the tallest building in Boston. It was built in 1905, still here, of course no longer the tallest building in the city. Now, you can see them out in right field beyond the pesky pole and beneath that Samuel Adams sign. You see them down a little bit to the left. They're hanging out there on our facade. And I'm going to go briefly left to right, tell you who those numbers are. Number 9, Hall of Fame left fielder Ted Williams. Number 4, Hall of Fame shortstop and manager Joe Cronin. Number 1, Hall of Fame second baseman Bobby Dorr. Number 8, Hall of Fame left fielder and my childhood hero, Carl Yastrzemski. Now some of you might know that Carl Yastrzemski's grandson Mike currently plays for the San Francisco Giants. So who knew that 50 years later, I would have another Yaz to root for? And that's pretty cool. Number 27, that's Hall of Fame catcher Carlton Fisk. Number 6 is not in the Hall of Fame, but that's Johnny Pesky's number. And for his 60-plus years of service to our organization, his number 6 hangs up there as well. Number 14, Hall of Fame left fielder Jim Rice. Number 45, the only pitcher up there, Hall of Famer Pedro Martinez. Number 26, Hall of Fame third baseman Wade Boggs. And then number 34, that is, and I'm very proud to say it, Hall of Famer Big Papi David Ortiz, the latest inductee into the Hall of Fame. And then there's number 42 out there to the far right in a different color, blue and white. Dodger blue and white. Who's number 42? Jackie Robinson, first black ball player in the major leagues, made his debut on April 15, 1947. And 50 years later, 1997, Major League Baseball permanently retired Jackie's number 42. It hangs in every major and minor league ballpark throughout baseball, and no player is ever allowed again to wear number 42. And I haven't talked about it.
That's all right, Rob. I will. I'm a happy man.
All right, guys, this is the view from the press box. We feel so important up here, but
I got the phone.
oh no, Brandy's in charge. She has the phone. She's gonna make the call.
Oh yeah, who's that?
I think somebody's home run lane there. When we had that net, well, home runs and batting practice balls used to land in that net, and every day, member of the grounds crew would attach a ladder to that ladder, climb up the ladder, retrieve the baseballs from the net, use them for batting practice the next day. So now we're going to put the seats in 2003, and word gets out that we're going to tear down the ladder. Oh no, you can't do that. That's our ladder on our monster. So we asked the American League, can we please keep the ladder? American League said yes, but there's no special ground rule. If a batted ball hits that ladder, it's in play. And every few years it happens, batted ball hits the ladder, and we all get to watch the poor left fielder chase the ball down while the runners run around the bases. It is the only in-play ladder in Major League Baseball. I got one more story about that, about the scoreboard. I mentioned Tom Yawkey. He basically saved the team when he bought it in 1933. He and his wife, Jean Yawkey, they owned the team for 60 years. At some point, wanted to leave their mark here at Fenway Park. It's kind of like an artist signs his or her canvas. Well, the Yawkeys were quiet, understated people. Very philanthropic, but they could have splashed Yawkey all over the wall. They could have changed the name of Fenway Park to Yawkey Field. No, none of that. But they found a way to leave their enduring legacy here at Fenway. I'm going to show you how they did it. Take a look again at the MGM Rewards sign in the middle of the wall. Go down to the top of the scoreboard where it says American League. And look at the N in American. And look at the white stripe going down from the N. You can see even from here, that white stripe is not as bright as the white stripes to the right of it. And that's because in a series of dots and dashes, International Morse Code are the initials KRY for Gene Remington Yawkey. The white stripe to the left of that one, between the E and the P on the scoreboard, or Morse code, spelling out T-A-Y, Thomas Austin Yawkey. So there's a lot of Red Sox fans been coming to games here for decades. They have no idea about the Morse code here at Fenway, the hidden message on the scoreboard. Feel free to stump them if you ever get a chance. Speaking of stumping people, does anybody have any? Our next up, that red seat is the most famous seat out in Fenway. And those of you who don't see it yet, look at the Ford sign and go down about 12 rows on right center field. It's lonesome in the sea of green seats. There is a reason it's painted red, and it's not because we ran out of green paint. So we're going to head out to our Samuel Adams deck, and I'm going to tell you all the story of the most famous seat in Fenway Park. Tell us to leave these vending machines alone. They're just for the media. We don't want the media getting upset at the tour department, so please follow me directly.
No snacks.
No snacks. Oh. Honey. They got Skittles in there.
Skittles in there.
Nothing. Hey, there's Skittles in there!
Oh, that's really cool. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
I gotta say, guys, this has been a pretty cool tour, but what tops it off is we have those famous cruise vloggers, the Fenwicks, with Life with Favor.
Yeah.
So, how much better could it get?
We're having a great time with you guys. I'm so glad y'all are here.
We are too.
Yeah, guys, it's been a really fun tour, really fun day so far, so let's continue.
Ooh, I'm slippery.
All right, everybody, let's start talking about that red seat that's down below us there. That seat right down below us does mark the longest home run ever hit here at Fenway Park, 502 feet. Now, that ball was hit by none other than the great, splendid splinter number 9, Ted Williams. And he hit it back on June 9th, 1946. Now, how do we know that Ted Williams hit a ball that landed right there? Well, there was a gentleman sitting there that day. Back then, they were all wooden benches, but you know, he was sitting in that spot. And his name was Joe Boucher. Now, Joe Boucher was a Red Sox fan from Albany, New York. And that day they were playing a doubleheader here at Fenway Park. Now, doubleheaders used to work like this. You played game 1, you waited a half an hour after game 1 ended, and then you played game 2. So if you bought a ticket, you got to see 2 games for the price of 1 ticket. Guess what, folks? They don't do that anymore. Now they're all day-night doubleheaders, separate admission. But back then, it was a doubleheader. And it was a hot day here at the ballpark, and Joe Boucher was wearing a straw hat to protect himself from the sun, the style of the day, and everything was great. Red Sox win game 1, and Joe decides to pull the straw hat over his forehead, over his eyes, and take a little nap in between games 1 and 2. And for those of you who think you know where this story's going, you are right. Because Joe Boucher does not see when Ted Williams steps to the plate lead in the bottom of the first inning of Game 2, and Detroit Tiger pitcher Freddie Hutchinson makes a mistake. He tries to fool the great Ted Williams with a changeup. Now, Ted had 20/15 vision at least, and he saw that changeup coming. And he unloaded on the ball, and there it went, way over the bullpens, heading straight toward poor Joe Boucher, who never saw it, as it hit him in the head, put a hole in his straw hat, and knocked him out. Now, this is 1946, and there's no concussion protocol back then. But I wouldn't be telling you the story if Joe wasn't okay. And, you know, they bring him some smelling salts, and now here come a couple of reporters from the Boston Globe. Mister, do they ask him how he is? No. Where's the ball? Joe says, I kind of lost interest in the ball once it hit me in the head. And they never found the ball. The ball was lost to history. Some kid probably picked it up, put it in his pocket, took it home. Oh, well. And now Joe's got a question for the reporters. Guys, where do you have to sit in this park to be safe from that man Williams? The answer, of course, 503 feet. One row back, he would have been fine, because nobody's ever hit it further than 502 here at Fenway Park. Right. Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore. Funny story. You know, the Red Sox had always lost the World Series. They made the movie with the Red Sox losing the World Series again, but then that was 2004. And the Red Sox actually broke the curse that year, and they won. And they had to go back into the studio and redo the ending of that movie because the Red Sox finally won the World Series. So, yeah. Of course he is. We'll give them a couple.
Mickey Mantle autograph ball. Pretty cool.
If you need to, I've been told that your bus driver is waiting right outside the exit here, but please do take a few minutes to look around. Any last questions that you might have around the ballpark? Men's room is right just to my right. Ladies' room is in back where we came in.
Done with the tour. Let's move on back to the bus.
Yep.